Hi, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and as the day I'm filming this, it is October 1st, the beginning of a new month, the spooky month. And I just finished watching for the second time Hocus Pocus 2, which was really funny. It was cute. I had a good time with it. It did feel a little. I enjoyed being back with the Sanderson sisters and watching them as they wreak havoc on Salem, but it was also kind of weird, being after so many years. Especially Sarah Jessica Parker as Sarah. It felt a little different because I don't know, maybe because it's been so long since she's played the character. Um and I don't know how old she was when she filmed the original, so but I do wonder if maybe the age difference, her being a little bit older, kind of made it a little hard, a little different, but it is hard. I imagine it's hard to reconnect with the character, get back into those shoes if it's been so long and you're bringing them back. But anyway, it was still fun. It was great to, I was wondering if I was gonna have to wait to watch it, because like last night we had a hurricane, or Florida had most of the hurricane, and we had some of the leftover stuff, you could say. So I was worried that we would lose power all night. We did lose power while I was at work, or at least the internet anyway. So I wasn't able to watch it until I wouldn't have been able to watch it. But then it was back on at some point when we got the internet back at some point while I guess when my dad was gone picking me up or something. So, because not too long after, maybe 30 minutes after we got back to the house, I heard my dad turned on the TV, because we have YouTube TV, so we need the internet to we need the Wi-Fi actually to watch TV. So the good news is, even if we never got back, at least we had lights, so I could still, use the bathroom and, put on my clothes, or at least not have to worry about it being too dark while I try to get ready for bed. So, anyway, but it was fun. It was kind of cool. They had two new the Sanderson sisters has two new musical numbers in this one, which was fun. One was a cover of what is it? The one where I'm gonna get ya or something. I'm not gonna sing it because you guys know I'm a bad singer, but One Way or Another, I think it's called. But before that, when they first appear, after the two teenagers accidentally bring them back, I think it's an original song, because I've never heard of it. They do an original song, which was really fun because they hadn't done that yet, so that was cool that they wrote an original song. I'm assuming it was original, because I have not heard of it. In older songs, I will at some point hear them, so I'm assuming that it was original, which was really cool. And I'm glad they were able to get all three of them back, because sometimes with these, when they make a sequel, they have to recast, because especially if it's been several years, 10, 20, 30 years, then it's kind of hard, because sometimes the actors sadly pass away, or just don't want to do it anymore, or even if they're still here, they can't, it's harder for them to act or do roles like that. So I'm glad they were able to get all three of them back. And other than what I said about Sarah Jessica Parker, which was it was just it felt different. It didn't feel the same. And maybe that's just because Sarah Jessica Parker, it's been a long time, and she has gotten, I don't know how old she was when she did first in it, but she's, a little bit old. She's a bit older now. She's still beautiful. Still has a great voice, and still does a fun performance. But it did feel a little weird. But that was the only thing. But so I had a good time with it. But it was really fun to watch the sequel, you know, at least for nostalgia reasons. But I am gonna watch a review. I mean, I'm gonna see if there's any reviews up yet because I'm curious what other people thought. Like someone like Grace, from Beyond the Trailer, or maybe I don't know if this is Daniel Green's, like if he would be interested in Hocus, if he was ever interested in Hocus Pocus. But anyway, so let's do the tag. I'm gonna just like last year, I'm gonna do the cozy autumn book tag. I already did the, if you haven't seen it, I already did the it's finally fall book tag. I kind of like this one a little bit better, but I like doing them both because and it gives me content, me ideas for content. So okay, so you guys know how this works. I get a series of questions, and most of my answers are book related. So here goes. Question number 1. What sorry, I was gonna go back on me. What book always reminds you of autumn? And I probably have said this last year that I don't do seasonal reading. I just kind of started getting into it. So I don't have, I have an answer for this, but it's not like I always think about this in fall. But I thought, or actually, I have 2 answers. But these are not books that I've always thought, they've always reminded me of autumn because I don't think about that. But these, at the moment, they remind me of autumn, and I'm sure that's not going to change. So so the first 2 books I picked were these 2. So first one, we have The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield, her debut novel. She's now written 3 books. As far as I know, I don't know if there's going to be if she's going to write a 4th one. No, that's Donna Tartt. Because I heard that there is an author, and I think it's Donna Tartt who does, where she writes a book every, 19 years or something, or 15 years, or there's a, you can time when her books came out. And but anyway, I read this before BookTube, and it's very similar. The plot is similar, as a lot of people say, to Evelyn Hugo, but we're dealing with an author instead of an actress. And our main character, an amateur biographer, she doesn't have a lot under her belt yet. Let me see if we get her name. Margaret Lee. She has been requested to be the biographer for this famous author, Vida Winter, who is known for writing this famous book of fairy tales. There's 12 tales in it, but there was rumor of a 13th tale. And so reporters and journalists and other biographers have constantly bugged her and asked Vida Winter about her past, and she always tells stories and lies, but she never tells the whole truth of her past. And for some reason, she has decided to reveal her history, her real history, to Margaret. And I think with I don't know if there's, in Evelyn Hugo, there's a connection between Margaret and Vida. There might be a connection. I cannot remember. It has been a long time since I read it, but I absolutely loved it. It has such cozy feels to it. And look at this cover. It just fits the autumnal season. And then the fact that it's about telling stories. I feel like that's something you think about this time of year. The idea of sitting around a fire, or, either a fire in the fireplace or a campfire telling spooky tales or cozy tales. And just there's a sadness to the story that I feel like fits the season as well. And then we have, so the last one, going by the title, I'm sure you can figure out that this has to do with Dracula. Dacre Stoker is an ancestor, or a relative. Ancestor would be before. Bram Stoker would be the ancestor. Dacre Stoker is the relative of Bram Stoker, and he and this other author put this book together about the origins of Bram Stoker writing Dracula? What inspired it? Now, there were these rumors that maybe he was inspired by the Vlad the Impaler, because he was bloodthirsty, and this does take place in Transylvania and everything, and maybe there was some influence there, but at the moment now, like, according to the author's note, I believe that Carmilla was very inspiring to Bram Stoker. And what's interesting, what you also get in the author's note, is it's explained that Bram Stoker actually told his agent that Dracula was based on a true story, that he really did believe in vampires and Dracula did exist. But his agent was like, no, you cannot, you have to change things, you can't make this off as real because people will panic. And I don't know what was going on historically at the time, but I think something else was going on to make people, like, would easily panic if you told them vampires were real. And of course, in any situation, I think people would panic back then. I mean, nowadays, of course, people, nowadays we're all so cynical, and we are always about, there has to be a logical explanation, and we have a hard time believing in this kind of stuff. I just think people are, and there's too many people that are illusionist or crazy, or just con artists, that people have a hard time believing in like this kind of stuff today. So if it was real, so we meet a young Bram Stoker, and his nanny did something to him which looked like something a vampire would do. But he was very close to her, and she had left when he was a child. So now he and his sister and brother are trying to find his nanny, thinking that I wonder if she might be a vampire. And they are being followed by a mysterious figure, a shadowy figure, which may or may not be Dracula. Or not Dracula, but this was really cool. It takes some of the elements of the original novel, but does in a way that's easier to get into. Like, there's an aspect, the novel was written a long time ago, so the writing style today is not as easy to digest and get into. But the idea of that maybe vampires were real, or at least that Bram Stoker believed in them and that he encountered a vampire, is such a really unsettling, creepy, but at the same time really cool concept. Like, I almost wish you could study vampires. Like, you can study, like, I think you could probably study the witchcraft in Wicca, without practicing it. But it's also, like I said, a little creepy and unsettling. The idea of vampires as being real is absolutely terrifying at the same time. Because, like, I think, it would be cool to be immortal and super fast and young forever, but it's also, like, scary because you're basically having a demon, to quote Buffy, you're having a demon set up shop in your body. You're not you anymore. You're now, if it's anything like, Angel or Spike, then maybe that's a little debatable. Although Angel got his soul back, and that's the only reason he's good when we first meet him. But either way, I don't know. I mean, it's cool to read about, but I don't know if I want to encounter a vampire and have to deal with it. I mean, but the idea of also, like, if you could actually study vampires, like they might have been real at one time, is still an intriguing idea. Now, I do think another book that really touches on that idea is The Historian by Elizabeth Kostovo, and that is really fun, but it's not as fast paced. Like, this one is it's still slow, but it's still, like, a little more slow moving, but it's also a little more faster paced. While The Historian really deep dives into the academic side, So, and less of the vampire, but it still deals with the concept of vampires being real. But that's another one I would recommend, The Historian. I don't think it's for everybody. Like I said, it's a little different. It focuses more on the academic side, and the vampires are less involved in that one. But it is there. They're like the looming shadow the characters are anticipating coming after them. So I think it's probably more dark academia than anything. But it does, if you also like vampires, you might like it. But anyway, but obviously this has to, this being a vampire book, specifically the most classic vampire book, then I think it's perfect for this time of year. Okay, next question. Question number 2. What is your favorite autumnal book cover? Again, I don't do seasonal readings, and I also don't pay attention to book covers that often. I mean, I definitely notice book covers a lot more. Like, I definitely think, but mostly, the only time I think about the cover is because with classics, because there are so many editions of classics out there that you want to try to get, or books that, have special editions of them, like in the book boxes. Of course, I don't subscribe to book boxes, so I don't get those editions. I wish I could, but then it's like, my sister made a good point that, do I want all that? I don't necessarily want all that stuff. Like, some of the stuff is cool and fun, but then am I going to use it in the future? Or is it just going to get thrown away eventually? Or given to somebody else? So, it's like, so I, as much as I like the designs of the books that they have in those book boxes, and there's some of them that the way they're advertised, it makes it look more interesting. Some of the stuff that comes in the book boxes other than the fancy designed book. But, I still gotta be a little careful with my money. So anyway, but I did find a book with an autumnal cover, and this is my favorite author, and this was the first book, one of my favorite authors, and this is her first book that I ever read. I don't think it's her debut though. And that is The Forgotten Garden. Not the what is it? Sorry, I can't think of what it's called, but the book not The Secret Garden. That's what people compare it to. It's not The Secret Garden. It does involve a garden. Someone inheriting the garden, actually. But look at this cover, like these, yellowish, like kind of the color of parchment. And we have like the whole scenery is just like yellow and orange with a darker green, and there's a little bit of cream color, a brownish color. Like I said, the rest of the book is the color of parchment, with the exception of the title, which is green. It's just look at all this. It's just perfect. And it's all about nature, and like all of her book covers, a lot of her book covers, with the exception, like The Clockmaker's Daughter, the one I have, does not have a nature scene in it. It's not nature. It actually has a silhouette of a woman. But most of her covers are nature scenes, and this is like just so beautiful. It looks so cozy, and I would love to go there and walk around that garden in like a coat and a scarf and like some nice sweater, and walk around, and then maybe have hot cocoa or tea in this little cottage here. Just maybe like go apple picking. Like, I'm sure it's just perfect. Okay, so next question number 3. Is what is your favorite autumnal drink to read with? And I don't read, I don't drink while I'm reading that often. Usually it's coffee, but I do have an answer for this. Of course, then last night when I was rehearsing what I was going to say in this video here, there's another Starbucks drink that I also really enjoy. Um, so my original answer is pumpkin spice. Nothing original. Everybody loves. Most people love pumpkin spice around this time of year. It's like it's a rite of passage to get a pumpkin spice latte or pumpkin spice frappuccino. You gotta have at least one pumpkin spice drink. You gotta try it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But you gotta at least try it once. And then the other drink I really like around this time of year at Starbucks is the apple crisp. It's apples and cinnamon. There's probably caramel in it. It's really delicious. If you like apple pie, like if you don't want to have pumpkin, get the apple crisp. It's really good. It's really hard because there's not a lot of like some of the wintry drinks, the drinks that there's only a couple of the more Christmassy winter drinks that I like because everyone gets like the minty flavors and stuff. It's like I don't like mint. I don't like mint and chocolate. I like gingerbread. And then there's one, the praline, praline, or I don't know. Or praline. I like that one. I think that's what it's called. But yeah, so both autumnal drinks at Starbucks are really good. I like both of them. I can't really pick a favorite. I did get the apple crisp one during September because I didn't want to go with pumpkin spice right away. I wanted to wait until October. I still haven't got my pumpkin spice drink, Starbucks yet, but I have gotten the pumpkin spice or pumpkin pie. What is it called? The ones at DQ. The one is kind of like ice cream, but it's also like a milkshake. I cannot think what it's called, but anyway, I did get that. So, but I don't think I've gotten a pumpkin spice drink yet. So I need to get one. I'm just waiting for the right moment. Okay, so question number 4. Do you prefer reading in the morning, late at night, or early morning? And just like last year, I say again, early morning. Because I'm thinking, because I don't just like reading, I also watch TV and I watch YouTube. I don't read as much as I love reading. I don't read all day, so I like waking up and, now I don't wake up and read right. Well, like I actually, when I get up, I go for my run if the weather allows it, I go for my run. So I don't do it first thing in the morning. So really it's kind of more late morning, afternoon, but to choose, but the options are late at night or early morning, so early morning. Because then the whole day is ahead of me. Like I don't have, if I don't feel like reading, I have other stuff I can do, or if there's like errands to run, or I want to go to the bookstore, or like I'm just trying to get out of the house, then I can do I can read that. Then I don't, and I have a very mixed relationship with reading in the car. Like I try to, but sometimes when it's just running errands, I don't always read in the car because, there's a lot more distractions, I feel like. And then I'm gonna just have to put my book down right away. Like, if we're taking road trips to, visit my sister or my grandma, then yeah, I will have more time in the car to read. And even then, because my parents control the radio, because I don't drive, so whatever's on there, whatever they want to listen to, I have to listen to it too. Then yeah, on long road trips I'll read. But basically the point is, I like the idea of having the whole day ahead of me if I don't want to just read that day, or there's other stuff I'm gonna do that day. Then I don't have to worry about it. But if sometimes though, there are times though where I don't read right away in the morning, and something like I'm anticipating a chance to go to Books A Million, or we have an appointment, or decide to go out to breakfast, then I don't necessarily get a chance to pick up my book yet. But yeah, early in the morning I think is better because, in my opinion, because then you have your whole day ahead of you. So if you want to do other stuff, you can do other stuff. Okay, so question number 5. Halloween is coming, yay! And I watched my first 2 Halloween movies. I watched Night Before Christmas. I downloaded the soundtrack to my iPod because I had it there before, but then I took it off at some point. And so I couldn't wait, and I ended up watching Night Before Christmas on the 28th or the 29th. I ended up watching it, and then it was the 30th. Hocus Pocus 2 came on, so I watched that on Disney Plus. So I've gotten 2 Halloween movies. But the actual question is, what is your favorite spooky read? And first one, I feel like the one I just talked about, Dracula, is a great spooky read, and Dracula. But the one I chose is one of Stephen King's biggest books. I still don't know which one is longer. If The Stand or It is longer. But I chose this one. I absolutely love this one. And I'm one of those people that isn't like, I don't like that one infamous scene that you will never see on screen. There's that one scene that is like, Mr. King, what were you doing? Why did you put that damn scene in there? Like, why? It's it was unnecessary. But I still love the book. It's one of my favorite Stephen King. It was my first Stephen King love. And, it's the story of a town that is haunted by this alien-like monster that its true form are the Deadlights, but it also takes the form of whatever you're most afraid of. In particular, it feeds off children because they're the easiest to scare, because their fears are very simple. Like fear of the dark, fear of, zombies, or fear of getting lost or something. Like, kids' fears are easy, while adult fears are more like being late on paying your bills or losing your child. Although I think he can manifest losing your the form, manifest something that has to do with losing your child. So yeah, it cannot take on those forms. And including a spider. It can take on the form of spider, but its favorite form is a clown. And it basically it will hibernate for 27 years and then come out and decide to feed on the children of this town called Derry in Maine. And he kills this little boy, Georgie, whose older brother is one of our main characters, Bill. And Bill wants revenge on it. And he ends up coming together. He and his friends come together, this group of 6 other kids who get bullied, and each have an aspect of them that is seen as different in their school, in their community, but they come together and are the only ones who can defeat it. But it turns out that they didn't defeat it. They actually just injured it. And he hides underground and hibernates while he licks his wound. So, and the Losers Club, as they call themselves, eventually 6 of them leave, and one of them stays behind. And he reminds them when it returns for its cycle, for its feeding time, the member stay behind, Mike, summons his 6 friends, reminding them of their promise when they were 12 to come back. Unfortunately, they don't remember, because once you leave Derry, you forget everything about Derry. So the second part of the story is about them as adults facing their fears and trying to destroy Pennywise once and for all. So this is it just relies on your childhood fears, the things that made you, obviously, made you want to hide under the covers and always check under your bed and inside your closet. I was a closet person. I always believed, and I did not grow up with Monsters Inc. So that one did not. It wasn't because of that movie. It's just I've always been worried about something in my closet. And I think it might have like an episode of Fact or Fiction might have contributed to that, because there was an episode where this little boy was afraid of the monster in his closet. So his older brother and his older brother's friends throw him in the closet, and like he's panicking, trying to break out. And then when the parents open the door, the kid's not there anymore. And I actually think this was a true story. But that might have been started my closet fear. I was never afraid of what was under the bed. But he really knows how to make, King just knows how to make you freak out and panic. He's very good with the slow buildup of scares, and he doesn't rely too much on jump scares. Although it's kind of hard to do in a movie anyway. It's kind of hard to do that in a book anyway. So, and it's just, it really, and Stephen King, I love how he takes a deep dive into his characters and you really get to know his characters. But it also, I feel like it explores the idea of saying goodbye to your childhood and losing your innocence, which I think is a theme that goes with this time of year for autumn. Like, yes, it's a cozy time and a wholesome time, but I also feel like it's a time when you feel you're saying goodbye to your childhood. And you're getting to your adult years. Like they say, nature is dying. I feel like your youth and your innocence is dying in a way. And that's what this explores. It's just like it relies on older like I said, it relies on childhood fears. And I think it relies on that whole phobia that a lot of people have, which is fear of clowns. Like this is the time we are the most vulnerable. And it's just something about this book. Yes, it's a long ass book, but it's still absolutely terrifying. Not just because it's so long, but just what it's about. Okay, so next is question number 5. We're now on number 6. What is your ultimate comfort read for you? And again, this is another one where it's not like I have books that I will read constantly. I mean, I've had books that I read more than once, but so I could say Jane Eyre is a comfort read, but it's more like I want to read because it's been so long since I read it, so I just want to read it again. So I guess, but I also feel like this could potentially be a comfort read as well. And that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This was her debut. And she finally recently, a couple years ago, published her next book, her sophomore novel, The Starless Sea, which I absolutely loved as well. But this one is just so whimsical and magical. Like there's a traveling circus that only comes at night. The writing is just so cozy and comforting. And these beautiful, delectable subscriptions that you can like picture the circus and smell all the delicious circus food, like the popcorn and the caramel apples and although I'm not a big fan of caramel apples, it just feels so cozy. It does have a bit of a romance that feels insta-lovey, but still it's so fun and like whimsical, and the magic of the circus and these magicians is just, there's something about it. And then it's fun that it's at night. It's like a mixture of spooky and cozy at the same time. But yeah, I absolutely love this. I'm glad I finally reread it a couple years ago. Okay, so next question. Question number 7. What is your favorite autumnal reading snack? Again, like the drinking, I don't eat when I read. I mean, I try to, like, I might eat some Cheez-Its or, blueberries and stuff, but I try not to eat while I'm reading, so I don't have a snack. What is your favorite, what is your favorite autumnal candle to burn while reading? I don't burn candles because I'm worried, because my mom and I are both worried that I'm going to set my room on fire. And she doesn't burn candles that often either. I live with my parents, so I don't really have one. So I don't have an autumnal candle that I like to burn. I mean, there's a lot of good smells in there that I would love to smell, but if my mom likes it, then we'll get it. If she doesn't care for it, then we're not gonna get it. Because, like I said, neither one of us trust that I won't burn my room, set fire to my room or something. So, maybe one day if I ever get my own place, I'll have to have a roommate because I won't be able to afford my own place. And hopefully she likes candles. But, so yeah, I don't have an answer for this one either. Okay, so question number 8. Or, no, that was 8. Question number 9. When you're not reading, okay, I can answer this one. When you're not reading, what is your favorite autumnal activity? And that's watching scary movies and scary autumnal shows. I love that. I will have a whole marathon. I mean, I've already watched Hocus Pocus 2, like I said, and I couldn't wait any longer. I'm going to watch Nightmare Before Christmas. It's just fun to watch those, especially, whether they're regular horror films or Halloween-related horror films. I love having marathons, and watching the Disney horror films that are like the Disney Halloween-esque films that are not too scary, but still there is a sense of tension, and there's a Halloween feel to them. And I also miss going, and I mentioned this last year as well. Basically, my answers are almost the same as basically the same as last year, probably. And I also miss being able to go pumpkin apple picking. We used to live farther, you guys know I used to live farther up north, and we didn't do it every year, but every so often we would go apple and pumpkin picking at this one particular, which, and get the apple donuts with they taste their apple and cinnamon. They're delicious. Of course, now we're trying to cut out the sugar. But and getting like apple, and the scent of being around nature and wearing my autumnal clothes. Like the last couple of years, I've been trying to buy more autumnal clothes, like something, spice up my wardrobe a little bit. Not too spicy though. And like just going like I said, the apple picking and finding a pumpkin. Of course, like I said, we live in the Carolinas now, so my mom's a little apprehensive about picking a pumpkin too soon. She wants to pick it during the right time, because if it's in the heat, if you leave the pumpkin sitting in the heat, then there's a possibility it might, it might go bad. So I think she wants to wait until it's cool enough to get a pumpkin. So we will probably get one. It's towards the end of the month. So in enough time, like probably on October 30th, we'll probably buy a pumpkin then, and then I'll have the night to carve it. Hopefully I won't have to work. Or maybe on All Hallows Eve. If I'm working, then I won't carve the pumpkin until I get home. But I remember like last year we did it right the last minute. Like on Halloween we carved the pumpkin, then we like put it out there. We were, like every year, because now I don't do, I'm an adult, so I'm in my 30s, so I don't have little kids in my life, so I don't do the trick-or-treat anymore, and I don't go to like Halloween party. There's no Halloween party or anything, so I just help pass out candy. It's always so awkward. Like I shouldn't be like nervous around kids or anything, but I do, I'm like, I don't want to, but it's always just like, okay, like trying to think of what to say, I know what to say, but just, I don't know, I just get weird and feel like awkward and stuff. But anyway, probably the only person, but is there anyone else out there who feels like awkward, when they're passing out candy to kids? Or do you are just so comfortable around kids and so easy for you to talk to them? I've gotten better over the years having worked at, a grocery store where there's a lot of, parents coming in with their cute little kids after school or whatever. But, anyway. So, yes, watching the scary and Halloween related movies is so fun. And the same thing with Christmas. Watching the Christmas movies, the Christmas specials, the Hallmark Countdown to Christmas, even though those movies are terribly cheesy and a lot of bad acting, it's still, it's still fun. I like doing it every year. Like, I remember one year in November when we first moved here, I got really sick, so I had to stay home from work. I couldn't go to work, so I would spend the whole day watching the Hallmark movies because I couldn't concentrate on the book. And it, so I spent the whole time sitting on my couch over there or lying in bed watching the Hallmark Christmas movies because it starts in mid-November, I think. It's when they start showing. It might be beginning of November. I think it's mid, but I'm not sure if it's beginning of November or mid-November, basically. But yes, but for both holidays, both Christmas and Halloween, the spooky season, it's the movies I love. Okay, so last question number 10. What is your autumnal reading TBR? Okay, so first we have The Witching Hour. So, by Anne Rice. So she has not just her vampire stories, but she has werewolf stories, a story about a mummy, and she also has a trilogy about witches. So this is the first book, and it centers around the Mayfair witches, this family of women who are haunted by this devil-like figure who's constantly whispering in their ear and seducing them to do the devil's work. And the latest heir in the family, Rowan Mayfair, has been living as a surgeon in California, and she crosses paths with this young man named Michael, who, after having a near-death experience, end up getting a gift and end up receiving a gift. He is a touch-know, or a psychosometry, or basically the people that can know the history of an object just by touching them. And the pair fall in love, and he ends up getting recruited by this group called the Talamasca, who research and study the Mayfair witches. So it's a great book for dark academia, but it's a chunker. But it's also about witchcraft, and of course it has Anne Rice's beautiful writing style. That's one thing I've always liked about her, even if there was a time I didn't agree with her, I was not necessarily into her plots. When I was younger, I had tried them. I read Interview with a Vampire, which I'm going to talk more about them because I'm in my video about scary books I've read. I still love her style, her writing style, and I love, Stephen King, she takes really a deep dive into the history of her characters, helping you get to know them and really understand them. Unfortunately, that does make these books long, like Stephen King. It makes her books longer, but still worth checking out, at least to me anyway. And there's a whole, now this could be good or bad, depends on what you're looking for, but there is a whole section where Michael is reading all this information about the Mayfair family, their history and stuff. So that part is a little long, but it's interesting, seeing them going back into the past and learning about this family and their history. It's like, again, like reading, textbook, like reading a history book, or like it kind of reminds me of what George R. R. Martin did in Fire and Blood. It's like reading a text, or like diary entries. Well, actually, in a way, it is. I think it is a diary entry. Members of the Talamasca. But anyway, so yeah, I want to read this, and I'm gonna read it soon. And then we have one I've been reading, which is A Discovery in Witches. I finally picked it up. This has been compared to Twilight and is a mortal falling in love with a vampire, but except for our mortal is a witch. So she's not, well, I think she would still be mortal. And she's also an academic. She is a teacher, she's a teacher, a college professor, but she's right now currently at Oxford, and she comes across this manuscript, Ashmole 782, which holds the secrets of vampires, witches, and demons. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's not demons as in like the guys that work for the devil and stuff, but it's demons as in very creative people, apparently. And Diana, who's trying not to use her magic, comes across Matthew Claremont, who is an English vampire that's been around for quite a long time, and since like maybe even BC. And he is, because all these witches and demons and other vampires want the answers to what is the manuscript, and each group believes the manuscript belongs to them, he has offered to protect Diana. But of course, he ends up falling in love with her at the same time. And right now, I'm at the point in the book where he has decided to take her to his birth home, his rebirth home in France. And his mom does not have the best relationship with witches. Not just the usual prejudice that vampires and witches have for each other, but also something happened with her and witches, I think. The writing is not the best, but it's still a great read for this time of year for obvious reasons. Also, it's great for Dark Academia fan. People love Dark Academia because, it takes place, a lot of it takes place at Oxford, or at least the first part does. It's like you have this character really diving deep and studying these texts, these manuscripts, and doing the research and everything. I'm a big nerd. I love that kind of stuff in books. Because, I don't study this kind of stuff, but I would love to study it. So I live vicariously through these types of characters. It has very similar elements to Twilight, but I like these characters better. Like, they have more personality, in my opinion, than Edward and Bella. Especially Diana. She's definitely more personality than Bella, and less of, I'm making this character bland so my readers can project themselves into this character. But anyway, and when I read the book, I might go ahead and start watching the show because it is a series. I don't know how many, I cannot remember, there's like 4 or 5 books in the series. But once I'm done with this first book, I'm going to go ahead and get into season 1 and go ahead and watch it. But anyway, I think, like I said, this is really just great for atmosphere and the fact that it's about vampires and witches. And like I said, if you're into Dark Academia, it's great for that as well. But yeah, it is actually really fun. I think it's better than Twilight. Like, I enjoyed a lot more. I personally enjoy a lot more than Twilight. But it has been a long time. I have not read Twilight, but I don't think I'm gonna change my mind. I still like Twilight. I still have a soft spot for it. I know a lot of people don't. There are as many people that hate it as much as there are people that absolutely still love Twilight, or at least have a soft spot for it like I do. But anyway, so yes, that is Discovery Witches. I'm gonna finish that this soon. Well, not that soon, but I want to try to finish it. Hopefully at least by the end of the month. I mean, even if I don't get like some of these other books, Okay. Oh, and that's by Deborah Harkness. Okay, next is one that I was gonna read for Victober, although I'm kind of leaning towards the witchy books right now. Like the two I just showed you. But I'm still gonna try to attempt Victober, like I did last year. But where is it? But the book, my original main book I wanted to read for Victober was Dombey and Son by Charles Dickens. Now, I don't know if this would be perfect for autumn, but I just want to read it. It's basically about this man, he has both he has a daughter first and then a son, and he has wanted his son to take over the business with him, but it does not go in, but the daughter was born first, so but unfortunately he kind of ignores her, dismisses her, thinks that women aren't worth anything, and it's about this relationship, and I'm assuming that he's gonna realize that his daughter is worth something, and that maybe his daughter and son aren't taking on the roles he expected them to take in his life. It kind of reminds me a little bit about Hard Times in a way, with Mr. Dombey and everything when I read so far, but this one is a little more interesting to me. Like, I prefer Dickens' longer books that take me a long time to read, because I feel like there's so much more that those books have to offer. Like, I'm definitely getting more and more into longer books. It's just they take me a long time to read because they're long. Anyway, so I want to read this one this year. If I don't do any October reading this month, then that's okay, and I have like November and December to read these books. So next one I want to read is, okay, where is it? Next is a nonfiction. I'm trying to continue to once again stick with reading, not getting more and more into nonfiction. So we have The Devil in the White City. So this is a murder happened at the first World's Fair in Chicago, and this book is about that. I think it's true crime, so it's kind of told like a novel, like a work of fiction, kind of like Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil was. So I picked it up, and actually the person that got me to decide to give it a shot was Reagan from Peruse Project. She did a video, in one of her videos I don't know if she mentioned this or was reading it in a vlog or something, but I remember her talking about this book, and I saw it at the roast office one day, and I was like, yeah, just go ahead and pick this up. Because I was kind of curious about it, and like I said, I wondered if, I could get into something like this. Even though I don't necessarily I'm not going to read Stephen King's Mr. Mercedes trilogy, which involves a serial killer, but maybe true crime like this might be something intriguing and good for this time of year. So I want to get to this one, and this is not the only nonfiction I want to get to before the end of the year. So then we have a Shakespeare play. So, I was really excited to get this edition. I saw it when I went to Barnes & Noble in Virginia when we were visiting my sister this past summer. And I thought it would be great to pick up either in October, or maybe November or December. And that's King Lear. And I also thought it'd be kind of another reason to pick this up is also so I can read what is it? I can't remember what it's called. Let me see if I can see. The Queens of Lear, which is a retelling of this book, where we focus on King Lear's daughters. And I thought maybe I could read them together. And I really like these editions. These are only our Barnes & Noble editions, so I either would get them online or get them at, if the next time I get a chance to go to Barnes and Noble. Looks like this has some really good notes in here. So that's why it's long, because it has a lot of notes. Like, if a play has a lot in there, that's probably, if a play looks really long, it's probably just because of the notes. Like, all the notes it has on here, and the, the introduction and everything. But, yeah, I thought this would be great to read this time of year, or when winter comes around. So, it might be a winter read, though. So I don't know if it will answer this question. It will fit this answer, but I could always get to it in November, and November still can count as autumn, at least half of November. And okay, the next book is next we have The Monk, which is another classic. It is there's an introduction by Stephen King in this, and it's large print, and I was not sure about this. Like I said, I only spent $3 on it, because paperbacks at the roast office are only $3. So I wasn't sure about this one because of what it's about. It's basically this monk who has very lusty feelings. And so it's very dark and I think very sexual, and I wasn't sure if I was comfortable with it. I still don't know if I'm comfortable with that, but I thought I would try it out. Because I know there are like Emmy Reads. I still to this day, I still do not know if that's her channel name. Or Emma, she either read this book or is planned on reading this book. I mean, the things I didn't like perfume. I decided, well, actually, I didn't not like it. I did like it, but I ended up, it's now being in the donation pile, perfume, and I figured there's gonna be there might be some similarities between perfume and this book. But like I said, I thought I would try it out, and it does have a supernatural element to it as well. I don't know. I'm wary of it, but I want to try it this October. Or November possibly. Like I said, some of these books I might not get to yet. Okay, sorry, there are so many books in this last question. So many answers for this last question. Okay, and then this was one that was recommended to me by, not directly, but he talked about in his video, by Tristan and the Classics. He talks about how great this was, although I might have bought it before. But I think he still mentioned it at one time, and I like in one of his videos that I watched, and I decided to check it out. But it might have been someone else. But I think the credit goes to Tristan and the Classics for recommending this book, which is The Name of the Rose. And like The Monk, it takes place in an abbey. And there's a murder happens at this abbey. And one of the brothers, and also heresy happens. The abbey is suspected of heresy, and one of the brothers, a brother from another abbey, is investigating. Like I said, it turns into a murder mystery, and he becomes a bit of an amateur detective. And I think a lot of the story takes place at a library. And I thought it would be something different and interesting in this kind of story. It takes place in abbey. I mean, I have read books that takes place. I did read one book that took place in an abbey. Now that one wasn't for me, but this might be. And maybe it could have just been bad timing. But I did read a little bit of it already a while back, so. But I haven't read enough I could start over and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Like with Discovering Witches, I was on chapter 16 and I had to, like, the last few days in September, I had to get back up to where I was before I could start updating on Goodreads and Storygraph. But yeah, this was it did really well when it first came out. And the idea sounded really intriguing, and it seems like a perfect, and like I said, it's a murder mystery, so I feel like that's perfect for this time of year. And the Abbey is a location that I'm not used to, and I think it'd be kind of great to do a story. It almost feels a little unsettling that a place where you worship God is where a murder happened. That's kind of scary. It kind of makes me think of in Salem's Lot, the part that stayed with me is when the vampire Barlow gets the priest and turns him into one of his little pets. Then that stayed with me and is absolutely terrifying. And it reminds me kind of similar to this, where a murder happens in the place of God, and it's like that's kind of like, if you believe in God and are a religious person, that's absolutely terrifying to think about. Like, okay, so there's that one. Let's see, what's the oh, and that's Umberto Eco is the author. Okay, and then I think I have 2 more books to talk about. I think, yeah, 2 more books for this last question that I want to read for this fall. So next we have The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. Now I started reading my copy that was my mass market copy of this book, so I finally was able to get another copy. I found one, I can't remember where. Actually, it's a thrift books purchase, that's right, it's a thrift books purchase. And so I figured now would be a good time to start it, but like I said, I'm kind of in a witchy mood right now. And part of me feels like I should get to Dombey and Son first, because I have made a lot more progress on that one than this one. But then this one kind of fits the season more than Dombey and Son. But that Dombey and Son fits more of October. So, I don't know what to do. I know a lot of people would say, well, go with your mood. See what your mood is feeling. And October will come again next year. So, and it's not like I can't read those books anytime. I mean, I can read the books whenever. So, I could pick up this book even if I don't read it for October. I could pick up this one and Dombey and Son for, like, even after October. So, this is like this guy, he sees this woman he tries to help her. She's dressed in white. He tries to help her and protect her because she seems to be in danger. And then when he gets to this house he's staying at, he finds the woman there. And turns out she is mentally unstable, has mental health issues. And he doesn't know if he actually saw her or what. So there might be a supernatural element, there might not be. But it's a bit of a mystery, which I think Will Collins is known for mysteries. And I think it's going to be a little creepy. Okay, so next we have the last book is the other nonfiction. And actually, the color of the book fits the season more than anything than the book itself. But, and that is Origin of the Species by Darwin. This is a very famous book where Darwin introduced the idea of survival of the fittest while he was sailing on the Beagle and went to this particular island and studied all the animals on that island. And this is his findings, his journal entries put into a book, a very famous book. And there was an animated movie. It was the same animation as Wallace and Gromit, the same style of animation. So it's a British movie, I believe, and actually Darwin is in that movie, voiced by David Tennant, actually. And he ends up, and that, now the movie's not about that. I don't think it's about someone else. But the main character of that movie, which I cannot remember what the movie's called, him and Charles Darwin crossed paths. So that was my first exposure, other than, school. I probably learned about Darwin a little bit in science class in school, but that was the only other time after that I heard about Darwin, was reminded of who Darwin was. But I saw this, and I figured I get it. Like I said, I only paid $3 for this, so I thought I would take it, and actually, I have the perfect bookmark for it. So my nephews were into Wild Kratts. And they had a Wild Kratts party one year, a couple years ago. So my sister asked if I wanted to take this bookmark, and I was like, sure, why not? It's another bookmark. So it's a Wild Kratts bookmark. So I thought it'd be perfect for this book, for a book on studying animals and various species. Now, have been a little wary of this because I didn't know if I would be interested enough, and I did start reading a little bit, but I might have to start over. The problem is, I am very indecisive, and I'm picking out a bunch of books, and I can't end up narrowing it down. I cannot decide because I'm like, oh, I want to read that one and that one. Oh, I need to finish that one, and so I can never decide. So what I really need to do, if I'm going to read something like this, I should only have like 2 or 3 fiction books if I'm going to read something like this. But anyway, one day I'll be able to do that. So that is the last book I'm going to talk about for this last question, which are what are my autumnal reads on my TBR. And it's probably only half of them, or maybe even less than half. So that is the Cozy Autumn TBR tag. Cozy Autumn book tag. I don't know why I said TBR tag. I guess because that, my last question was TBR related. So if you guys want to do this tag, feel free to do it. Unless you just want to answer some of the questions in the comments section below. It is a fun tag to do if you're interested. And I should have checked. There was a new booktuber I just started interacting with. We just commented to each other, and I cannot remember what her channel name. I should have looked before I filmed this so I could tell you about her. But I don't even have the internet opened yet. So maybe I'll post a link to her channel. Although I did get in trouble a video from 3 years ago, I got a notification that it's been taken down because apparently there's some content in the link that you're not allowed to, was spam or something that I'm not supposed to show, that shouldn't be on here. So I did the video and honestly, I don't know what was on that content. So it's a video I want to recreate because it has a lot of viewers on that video. So I will redo it and try to be careful and make sure I don't post anything on any links on that video that might get me in trouble. It's kind of hard though with Facebook because I don't go onto Facebook as regularly, and it was on Facebook that got me in trouble. So, I don't know what was on there on that link. I don't remember, so hopefully I won't make the same mistake twice. And it was just weird because it was 3 years ago. So, and I don't like looking back on my videos because I don't like listening to myself. So, I don't know what it was. But, some of the, but anyway, you know what? It's probably a good idea though, because I could probably do a better video on that, for that one. So anyway, if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification below if you want to be notified for my latest videos. Like I said, if you want to answer these questions, either you can do the tag or respond to some of these questions in the comment section below. And I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!